Brace yourself, folks. We're about to depart the Dragon Ball era. At last. Hey folks, MasakoX here. When it comes to this story, we have ourselves something which starts off, or seems on the surface, to be something rather ordinary. Goku landing in a different place? What difference could that possibly make? With just a very small adjustment to Goku or Kakarot's location of arrival on Earth, it would mean that a lot of things, including the fact that Grandpa Gohan did not act as much as the main catalyst for the show at the start, at all. Well, that's a twist in of itself. But this locale of landing though has it so Goku, now named Bocksa after Boxer shorts, winds up being not only a pretty good fighter, has Hercule as a best friend too, but actually is also a good mechanic and a better mind for engineering, naturally due to him being the adopted brother of Bulma. But even though his power is not as great as the original story, there is still a lot more going in the daily life of Bocksa than we usually cover on this channel, hence why it's been going on for longer. Like we saw in the last part, we had ourselves the adventure of Mark, Hercule, and Bocksa trying to ascertain the person who would off their friend Krillin in the most insidious way possible, as well as being so sneaky to boot. Together, our duo had managed to take down Tambourine with the help of Yajirobe, as well as taking out a lot more of the children of King Piccolo faster. When it comes to the Ultra Divine Water though, we had ourselves a bit of a tricky situation with Mark having the ultimate doubt, unsure whether he was worthy of supping from the contents. But he indeed was worthy in the end, and no longer suffered from the Satan Castle Dojo staple of having a stomachache when the chips were down. So despite the fact their foe had been bested and his prized possession and final act of malice had been captured, things were still a little bit unstable to say the least. It wasn't all clear cut. And although King Piccolo had been defeated, there was still a lot of things to consider outside of the egg problem. In his path to glory and establishing himself as the new ruler of Earth, he and his children had left a huge swathe of destruction in his wake. Cities, governments and infrastructures, not to mention people and cargo robots as well, were ravaged beyond belief. And on top of all of that, with Shenron out of the picture still, our heroes cannot fix this quickly. They can't resurrect anyone, fix the damage. No, it had to be done the hard way. And the souls of the Demon King's victims remain stuck in a permanent limbo, unable to cross to the afterlife or come back or do anything. It was indeed something not ideal at all. But fear not, here comes Whiskers the Wonder Cat. Korin, sorry, who seems to have an idea in which to fix all of this. His first act is to tell Yajirobe to take Bocksa and Mark to his tower in the sky for a massively swift recovery, sensei means. If they were going to be doing anything, they needed the two strongest beings on Earth right now, and their saviors actually to be in peak condition. When they arrive and have gathered their bearings after all that had happened, Korin tells them that Kami is the one responsible for creating the Dragon Balls in the first place, and they need to go up there, where he resides, above this very tower, and he also might be able to resurrect Shenron, and therefore bring back the orange orbs. There's one problem though. Bocksa and Mark don't know how to get there. As for now, the lookout is obscured from regular mortals' view. There's no means to get up there. But the cat isn't all that bothered by this pessimism. He actually has a solution for this as well. He tells our heroes that there is a man down on Earth named Son Gohan, and he's a fighter hidden in the woods, who is in the possession of an artifact that could take them to Kami's place, no problem. Bocksa is actually very glad. He knows this guy. He'll see one of his mentors again, and as such, himself, Mark and Yajirobe go and see the old man. Gohan is of course very happy to see them, and to see them having gotten stronger than ever. They'd improved. But his health had been worsening lately though. That being the reason he wasn't actually able to help much during the whole King Piccolo crisis thing. But Bocksa explains to him that Korin had mentioned something about a magical artifact that could help them travel to Kami's lookout. Gohan nods.
Ah yes, I suppose I should have anticipated this. You two do seem like you've exhausted all worldly avenues of getting stronger. And so quickly too. Oh, how things change so fast these days.
He trots over to the corner of his hut and picks up a box. Bocksa is finally, presented with the legendary power pole, which he later uses to get from Korin's tower to the Guardian's domain. They then leave Gohan in peace, thanking him profusely for his help as well as hoping that he will feel better soon. The climb up to the lookout isn't particularly difficult, but it's very long. But thankfully, just as that need for rest arises, they start to see the very welcome ladder that lines the side of the lookout. This, in contrast, was the easiest thing imaginable. They then meet Mr. Popo, who of course gives them a harsh test to test their mettle, as if the climb up here wasn't enough. Suddenly, the two boys get interrupted by Kami, who they mistake for King Piccolo, green, antenna, stuff, old, and attacks him in a fierce burst of anger which ends badly for them. Kami grumbles.
I'm nothing like that monster you fought, boys. Quite the opposite. Something I would be able to explain without your impetuous natures.
This got Bocksa and Mark feeling very bad and apologizing over and over again. But Kami smiled.
I jest, young ones. I know what you've been through. It's my job to know.
Kami then goes on to explain his situation as the Guardian of Earth, and that Korin had pranked them, telling our heroes about his true nature, about being a single entity with King Piccolo, and how they had split many centuries ago for the good of the Earth. He is also willing to recreate Shenron for our heroes, but on one condition. Bocksa will have to stay up here on the lookout and train under Kami. And oh yes, they'll also have to give him back the egg containing Ma Jr. Mark, having seemingly been snubbed for this training, was now being very bolshy about this agreement. It didn't seem all that equal. No.
Hey, why would we give you the egg? We barely know you. What do you want to do with it?
Asked Mark, feeling very nervous. Kami's expression stiffened somewhat. Clearly, it wasn't going to be anything wholesome.
So that I may seal it. This creature should not see the light of day, especially after all that you have endured to get to this place. I am life-linked with the being inside, which, as I believe, is as wicked and evil as its previous incarnation. With it sealed away forever, everything should remain perfectly balanced, as things should be.
But Mark wasn't all that convinced. He was thinking,
screw God! Listen, Mr. Kami, I know that this King Piccolo did a lot of bad stuff, but this thing is a new, creature? Entity? Should we really punish it for the sins of the father before it's even born? It doesn't seem all that right.
Kami, though, isn't really that enamored with Mark at the moment.
Bumbling boy. You have no idea how dangerous that thing is. Did nothing of what that maniac had enacted upon the world get through your thick head?
Bocksa then looks at Kami, him not taking too kindly at this being, despite being God, insulting his best friend. Don't be so harsh. Apparently I'm an alien myself. That might be dangerous in other corners of the universe. Yet, despite that potential, I was given a chance by my family. If it receives the right upbringing, this son of King Piccolo might turn out fine. A friend, perhaps. Kami was getting incredibly annoyed at this pushback from both of them. I will agree to your training, but I'd like to ask you to give this egg a chance. My friends will take care of it. Kami looked stern for a while.
Fine. You, the bumbling boy.
Kami pointed at Mark.
Yeah? As much as you've shown incredible bravery while fighting Piccolo's goons, you are not material for my training. But I think I can task you with caring for the egg. If he turns out bad, it's all on you. Fine on me!
Mark turned around as if getting ready to leave, tying his shoes, and mumbled to himself,
I don't want your sticky training anyway.
Kami then does what he had promised and resurrects Shenron, which causes the Dragon Balls to become active once more, which obviously is quickly noticed by Bulma, and the rest of the team gather the orbs to resurrect everyone and restore the planet to its original condition before King Piccolo sprung up. Bocksa is then told that he will need to stay on the lookout for 3 years in order to complete his training. Mark seems very upset that he will be separated from his friend for so long, but Bocksa isn't all that worried. He knows that they'll be back. Mark, tell everyone that I'll be back, especially my sisters and my parents. They're gonna be worried sick.
So, this is goodbye, little buddy?
I'll be back in 3 years. Promise. The two friends give each other a hug, and Mark is sent back to Earth to bear the news. Very disappointed to be making the climb back down to Earth alone. Of course, Bocksa's family is visibly saddened by this, but they do understand the enormity of this act. It's for the best. Meanwhile, Miguel agrees to help Mark raise the egg, hoping to help the being that emerges drop the revenge plan. It's kind of like training for becoming parents ourselves, she joked, knowing that this would definitely get a reaction out of Mark. It did. So, what happens during the blank of 3 years? Well, as you could probably imagine, Bocksa is training up on the lookout hard under Kami's tutelage, while Mark and Miguel work tirelessly to raise Junior. Which is no walk in the park, that's for sure. Junior is being quite a hard kid, let's just say that. Due to his single-minded obsession on taking revenge on Bocksa, he was acting very stubborn. But Mark could see some glimmers of hope. Unlike King Piccolo, this one doesn't seem as ruthless or as cruel in his acts. Not exactly a peachy babe, but there was some wiggle room in there. Mark tries to get Krillin, Tenshinhan and the others, in fact, to try and help convince him to get over Bocksa and move on. The kid is also training like crazy, so they try to train with him in order to make it a more social experience for him, and also to keep up, and also make it so Junior is always familiar around humans. But during one of these training sessions, Junior almost got kidnapped by Piano, who wishes to usurp the right to raise him and turn him into the true successor to the fallen Demon King. But obviously, he didn't figure the fact that everyone was training. He gets beaten to a pulp by Mark and Krillin. They don't kill him, however. All of this to actually give Junior a valuable lesson, an example of mercy and how it's important. Piano curses this and knows how formidably intelligent King Piccolo was, so the same could be said for his son, and very impressionable. The results of this mercy act are rather positive. Junior, of course, ends up still being pretty moody, brooding and serious a lot of the time, but here, he's acting now more like his personality around about the Namek saga of Z, the time before the OG Piccolo fused with Nail. Also, the team do their best to channel Junior's desire for revenge towards other things, maybe into something more constructive, akin to him wanting to check his power against Bocksa rather than wanting to kill him. And oh yeah, Bulma and Yamcha, as well as Miguel and Mark, are now pretty much loud and proud official couples. As for Tenshinhan and Launch, that sadly didn't work out to the same degree, but they still train together and are good friends. Launch, though, decided to wholly leave the life of crime, and she now has channeled her smarts into forming her own bodyguard organization. And so, the 3 years have officially passed. Our friends indeed meet again at the 23rd World Tournament, and everyone is shocked at just how much Bocksa had grown in the meantime. There is much rejoicing from his family, and even his uncle Jaco is there to check it out, and he is glad to hear also that he had been training under the benevolent Guardian of Earth.
My, Bocksa, how indeed you've grown. You are almost worthy to be a true helper to a super elite like me.
This warm family scene gets interrupted though by Junior.
Junior, do not interrupt!
Mark starts, but Miguel stops him.
You killed my father!
Junior scoffs at Bocksa.
That's right, I did. He did a lot of evil things.
Bocksa isn't aware at the level of nurturing that the Dragon team had successfully undergone since its departure. This is a bit of an act.
I will beat you today, grumbles Junior.
We'll see about that.
Of course, Chi-Chi is also there, but most of the heroes don't recognize her. Chaozu, of course, then fixes the roster, so our heroes don't end up meeting each other right up until the finals. That goes as it does in the original, with Cyborg Tal still being there, and finally being bested by Tenshinhan. Bocksa then fights Chi-Chi because she promises to reveal her name if he does so. She of course reveals her true identity, and asks him about the whole marriage thing from earlier. Bocksa then says that he is open to getting to know each other better, which makes her happy. Krillin then has a pretty even fight against Junior, though the latter is not as cruel as he is in the original, due to his familiarity with him. And Mark even observes that he is purposefully not hurting Krillin too much, making him rather proud of his nurturing efforts. They have managed to curb his father's cruelty. This time, Kami is watching from the stands instead of fighting, under the guise of hero still, and he's not actively competing, as Mark had taken his place in the tournament, and he is the one to fight Yamcha. The fight is rather even, but Mark is the one to come out victorious from the encounter, but only barely. Then, Bocksa and Tenshinhan have a chance for a rematch of their own, which ends up with Bocksa winning in a spectacular way. But Tenshinhan isn't bitter about this, he's in fact happy for the lad. The next match seems to be rather exciting too, as it's Mark versus Junior. The two fight, though Junior quickly overpowers his mentor. Mark doesn't give up easily though, but then Junior warns Mark that he's not going to be going easy on him just because he'd been the one to raise him for the last 3 years. But Mark's okay with that. The fight goes on for a really long time and gets rather serious, as Mark proves that although he's outmatched,
he could do this all day.
Finally, Junior knocks him out, but ensures that he gets a safe landing out of the ring. Something that Kami is very surprised about. Maybe, just maybe, they were right. Junior could be a force for good, or at least not be as evil as his father. The time comes for the final round. Junior then taunts Bocksa by firing Ki Blast, destroying the stands, but his attacks get deflected. But then Bocksa notices that was all a bluff. Those were mainly just Ki Blasts of light, and also Junior knew that Bocksa would deflect it. And also, he loses his turban on the way, which causes the crowd to panic, mistaking Junior for King Piccolo. Junior then grows to a gigantic size, but Bocksa isn't fazed by that. The two fight against each other, and in the end of this climactic encounter, Bocksa reveals that he can fly, knocking Junior out of the ring. Junior is pretty hurt, so Yajirobe gives him a senzu bean. Not wanting to risk Junior going on a rampage, having believed his rhetoric, Kami attempts to seal him in the evil containment wave, but is stopped by Mark and Bocksa.
You saw what he wanted to do to the people on the stands. Clearly your efforts have failed, bumbling boy.
Wait, says Bocksa. That was a bluff. He wasn't gonna do it. He just wanted to check out my power. Was that it, Junior? Really?
Junior nodded.
Right. Killing bystanders isn't my style.
Sealing him away's not gonna fix the problem, Kami. It's only gonna make things worse.
Bocksa then tells Junior, after giving him a second senzu bean, that he wants to fight him again. Junior just then scoffs at him, but gives Mark, Miguel, and the rest of the Dragon team a rather cordial farewell. He feels like he needs to figure out some things on his own.
Don't worry, I'll be back. And thanks for taking care of me,
he says quietly to Mark before leaving. And so, that's the end of the first chapter of Boxer's adventure. Kami is convinced to remain in his position as Bocksa refuses to take it up, wanting to get to know Chi-Chi more. Mark and Miguel get married and have a daughter. They name her Videl, after their good friend Spike the Devilman, who is, ironically, her godfather. Goku and Chi-Chi follow in their footsteps soon after, and they name their son... Oh, you're gonna have to wait until the next episode to find that one out, but still though. Our friends are unaware that Gearbo has been working tirelessly on something for all of these years in the background. And then, there's also a mysterious one-eyed old man, watching Boxer's new house from the distance. It seems like he has some plans for the future as well. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? Are you excited for the Z portion of this story? What kinds of villains might we see in this What If universe? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!